first podcast for Soulmate, and I can introduce myself. My name is Douglas Clarke, and I am the writer and director of Soulmate, and I also composed all of the music myself. I'm a musician kind of originally, and so that's where I kind of started with this. I knew this had to be something with a lot of music. Plus, I wanted to write things for Shannon to sing over. And I also played every instrument myself in real time. I don't really know how to program music, so had a bunch of different instruments. We can get more into that. And recorded all the music for the play as well. And Shannon?
Hi, I'm Shannon Wong, and I am playing Cyrene in the show Soulmate. Like Doug said, I helped him with the musical melodies in the songs, as well as writing the lyrics. The show was inspired by me and Doug's life as friends together and our dating experiences. So a lot of the characteristics of Cyrene are very similar to the personality traits in my life. Yes.
So, we're doing this podcast because we have performed Soulmate. We debuted it January 11th. It was supposed to be January 10th, but there was something going on in LA called the LA wildfires that was happening, raging on that week. So we delayed one day, opened on January 11th, and we ran for 2 weeks in Los Angeles at this theater called Zombie Joe's Underground. It's kind of our home theater here, at least my home theater, and we can get more into that later as well. And by the end of it, we were selling out shows, adding seats. It just kind of became a very popular show, I think, partially because people were just really, just kind of hit this tone, this emotional depth that people were kind of vulnerable and ready to kind of like accept into their lives. I think given all the rawness of the fires and everything that was going on. So it was just a very kind of the timing was very, I don't want to say fortunate because nothing's fortunate about the fires, but for the people that the audiences, it just was a very resonant time. And so at that time, we kind of took a week break because there was something called the 50-hour festival happening at Zombie Joe's, which I also participated in because a director got sick, so I had to jump in as director. So I went from directing my first show to directing my second show a week later. And then we came right back the next week with more Soulmate, and we did 2 more weekends. Every weekend was 3 shows each, a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. And it kind of ramped up and did really well again. And by the end of that, we decided, you know what? More people need to see this, and more people were asking to see it. A lot of our friends around the country had flown in to see Soulmate from all over the place, and we can talk about that more. But I thought to myself, I would love to see this happening in New York, and New York is my favorite city in the U.S., and it's where I lived before Los Angeles. I moved to Los Angeles 10 years ago for a job that I recently lost, and was another impetus for Soulmate. But I looked into it. Zombie Joe, who is the owner of the theater and co-produced the show, he had some connections out there, and we are now going Off-Broadway officially in 1 month. Opening night is April 19th. And we thought we'd just get in front of some microphones and just start talking about the show, our experiences, what led to the show, things about the show, kind of ramp up to our opening in New York.
Yeah, we're so excited. I'm very, very excited about New York City. I haven't stayed there for a long duration of time like that before, so that's going to be a totally new experience. And I think as far as everything goes with this production, all of it is really very new experiences for us. For myself, I hadn't even done any acting prior to this, or singing, like performing. So yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I mean, just to kind of get back to that, to kind of the origins of this whole thing, I'll just kind of go right back to my start in theater, which was also kind of an accidental thing. What had happened was that I grew up even though I was born in Burbank, which is here in LA, when I was a baby, my parents moved up to the San Francisco Bay Area and I grew up there. And I grew up always listening to music. I kind of credit my older sister, Noelle, for introducing me to amazing, fun music, like a lot of punk when I was little. And so music just became everything in our lives. And so as I got older and I started realizing that I had some artistic parts to myself, I didn't think so, because when I was little, I thought that to be an artist, you had to be able to draw, and I couldn't draw. So I'm like, I'm not an artist. And I was good at like math and science. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'm not an artist. I'm an academic or whatever. But then as I got older, I started playing music. When I was 15, I started my own band, and went from there. And in the Bay Area, it's very easy to have your own garage band and to play clubs. It's like everyone does it, especially in Danville, this little town I grew up in. I felt like tons of musicians, tons of bands got their start there. So from going from the San Francisco Bay Area most of my life, moving to New York, you can also do bands there. It's a different scene a little bit, but I joined a band out there, but then I had to move to LA. And LA, it's just not the same deal. I feel like musicians here, there's a lot of them, but they are pros, meaning they are playing as session musicians for soundtracks. They're writing music for content. It's like all media, like movie and TV show related. So all those musicians, it's like the last thing they want to do at the end of the day is just go jam with their friends and go play at clubs. It's like, no, they're actually getting paid real money to go play music. So living in LA for almost 10 years, I just wasn't playing any music. And I went to this place called Zombie Joe's, and I saw that there was some really expressive art going on. And some of that was music, like this guy, gosh, I should have his name. I'll think of it. But I just saw a guy there improvising drums and keyboards at the same time, playing them. And it just kind of hit my roots. It's like I really grew up with punk and jazz and expressive improvised music, that stuff I was comfortable with. So I had my friend who knew Zombie Joe, my friend Linnea, who is also a theater, kind of immersive theater person that I met through that scene. I said to her, hey, can you introduce me to Zombie Joe? And this is after living in LA for 8 years and having Zombie Joe's Underground literally 8-minute walk down the street from where I lived this whole time. She said, sure. She introduced me, and he said, yeah, you want to play music? Why don't you do the 50-hour festival? It's in, a couple weeks. And I said, what's that? And it's just this festival I just mentioned that we just had after Soulmate this last year. But basically I had just a few hours because everyone wrote plays in 24 hours, 4 plays. Then I had to create soundtracks for each of those plays, kind of an intro, an outro, do some music from within the plays. So within about 4 hours, I came up with 7 short pieces of music and then played them the next night, which was crazy, fun, expressive. It was a blast. And from there, they just kept inviting me back, but not to do music, but to act. And so I started acting. The first thing I did was this thing called Urban Death Tour of Terror, which is kind of their signature show. It's for Halloween. It's this crazy show of first there's like a haunted maze, live action haunted maze in. I was part of that. Then you go in, sit down, you see all these little vignettes, horror vignettes, or funny, horror, disturbing something. And I was in about 4 of those. And then there was a haunted maze out. I was in that as well. So I was doing triple duty that night. Those nights, there was actually 60 performances in that October. And that's the first time really anybody saw me act. Even though I'd done some acting when I was younger, this is the first time I'd done theater acting. And everyone who's currently my friend got to see it. And so, I don't know, do you want to talk about kind of your experience with that? Because where I'm leading is to what you told me after.
My experience is just with the theater acting.
No, like what I mean is that after you saw Urban Death, I feel like that's when you expressed to me that you had some interest yourself. So
yes, yeah,
just that experience.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Death was just a crazy fun show, and I just thought, wow, what a fun community thing that Doug is involved with. I had never done any theater before, so I was thinking I wonder if that's something I could do. Maybe I would be interested in, trying this kind of thing out. The types of shows that they do at Zombie Joe's Theater, they're typically very immersive, really involves the audience, and then usually horror shows. So most of the shows that I had seen there were kind of in that genre. Go ahead.
No, was there like, but there was a moment I felt like, and it's funny because I don't remember exactly. I mean, I remember hearing it, and I hope I didn't just imagine it, but I remember you just expressing to me once that you'd maybe want to try to be on that stage. But then you expressed like that in addition, like it would be cool to like sing as well. And I thought that was interesting because there's not really singing there. So I don't know, like, do you remember like telling me that, or do you remember anything about that? Or is it just kind of...
I think it was maybe just in passing, like, oh, that would be fun to sing and dance there. It might have been after Urban Death because Zombie was asking, oh, you and your sister are dancers. Like,
oh yeah.
Do you guys want to put on a show here? You guys could dance here. And so I think that maybe that kind of got my gears, grinding about like, could I do something there? What would I do there? What would be fun for me?
Cool. Yeah. So it's funny because even though it just may have been said in passing, I don't know, it just really struck something inside of me. And within like moments, I feel like of you telling me that, or maybe that same night, I literally imagined what became the beginning scene in Soulmate, the opening, and then the last scene in Soulmate. And the character of Cyrene, who she was, what the situation was, her motivation, like everything came to me in that moment. And so I had this thing in my head, and I even the name Soulmate like popped in my head. And I think it's because it's a word you use a lot. It's and I mean, I don't know, and it has a very special meaning in this play's context. But the funny thing about that is that it just stuck there in my head for like a year and a half, because what was going on in my world at that time is that I had this job, this full-time job that was very full-time. I mean, it's running tech strategy for a tech company while also maintaining specifications for, audio that was going out on, major streaming platforms and cinemas, and going to China and training people there, and Japan and Korea and Europe, and also building tools, audio tools. Anyway, it was just a bunch of stuff. And so everything, I've always balanced like my work with art. I try to create that balance just to keep myself sane and to keep things fun and expressive, like let out what's inside of me. But I never had the moment where I could like do what I wanted to do, which is write a play to expand upon this idea that popped in my head for you. And so, there was a moment where that could happen, where basically I got laid off in August of 2024. Sorry, I don't remember what year it was now. 2024. It wasn't the most unexpected layoff. I mean, meaning like, I felt like it was time, meaning like I've been at that job 10 years and the company was going different directions from where I wanted to go. And it just seemed appropriate. So it wasn't anything too devastating. Something else that happened though, just a week before that, was that I lost my relationship of 7 years, which was a little more devastating. And it's still, it's still hard, but in a weird way too, the two things, either of them happening alone was bad enough, but the two happening together kind of created this space, like it like cleared everything out. And it's like, wait, you can have like an entirely new beginning here. Like, and you could do whatever you want. And part of me was actually relieved too, because at that moment I got laid off. I was doing 3 shows in a row, back to back to back at Zombie Joe's. Every show I feel like I'm tucked into. Like Zombie Joe really likes to cast me in things. And so there was Urban Death for this convention in Long Beach called Midsummer Scream, followed by The Exorcism of Sophia Grace, which was this amazing general manager at Zombie Joe, Charlotte Cocker, who ended up in Soulmate for our first run. She wrote this incredible immersive play that was an exorcism, and I played the lead priest leading that exorcism, and then followed by this amazing play comedy by Dirk Voetberg called The Guy Man and Maureen. And so I had to memorize everything for all these plays back to back to back. And when I actually got laid off, I was like, oh, phew, I can actually have the time to memorize all these lines, because it was a lot, and I'm not great at memorizing lines. Well, who is? But anyway. And so in any case, there was a night when we were opening The Guy, Man, and Maureen, the third of the plays, and I had been laid off a couple weeks at that point, or maybe even a week. It was all very just a blur. And that day I happened to get the worst food poisoning I've ever had in my life. And it just knocked me completely out. I mean, that was opening night of Guy Man. And I mean, I was playing many roles in Guy Man, including kind of the lead supervillain in Act 2. And when we were running lines before we went on stage, I couldn't even stand. I was like lying down on the risers, just saying my lines, and everyone's looking at me like, what is going on and how are we going to go on? And I said, don't worry about it. And somehow when the lights came on, I just somehow came to and did it. And I wasn't in the best shape, I'm sure. People said I was sweating a lot, but that's fine. It's like, maybe the characters sweat a lot. You never know. When you're the audience, they don't know what's going on. So they'll suspend belief. In any case, after that performance, I thought I was feeling better. I think it was probably the adrenaline. And Zombie Joe and I went across the street to the brand new, at that time, Raising Cane's, and just because I hadn't eaten all day because I was so sick. And we sat there, and I said to him, now that I'm laid off and I have some time, I have the show idea, and I think I'd like to do it. And he said, oh, tell me about it. So I told him, and it was Soulmate. And he said, like right then and there, he's like, well, we have time. Let's put it on starting January 10th for 2 weekends. We could do 6 shows. And I said, okay, let's do it. And we said it right there. He said that we worked out some business deals, business terms. And then the next day he sent me a contract, and I sent it back with some revisions. We signed it, and it was on. We were going to do this starting January 10th. And then I went home and I started painting the poster. That was the first thing, because we needed that to sell tickets. At that point, I informed Shannon that we were doing this. Do you remember that moment? And I don't know, like how you felt? And
yeah, I think so when Doug announced to me, that we're gonna do it, we have some dates planned for being the first show of the year at Zombie Joe's.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh wow, okay. Well, your best friend writes a show about you, so you're not going to say no. You're going to do it, and you're going to try it out. Oh yeah. Yeah. But just deciding like that it's going to be done, I was like really nervous, really nervous at the time. But as well, some different sort of turns happened in my life as well that created the space for me to want to pursue trying something really new out. I was working and throwing some parties in Hollywood Hills, and it was such a fun time for me, all of last year. And then one of my friends had passed away, as well as we decided to stop running the events. And so that was kind of a big pause on what I thought was going to be like a great events coordinator career for me. And with my friend passing away, he was a very, very big creative and quite well known in the arts and fashion scene here. One of his biggest mottos is to be brave, to always be brave, run towards your fears. And so I think that maybe because of those experiences and just that really big plateau that I hit, I was like, okay, it's time to just flip a new chapter and try something else. And so that led me to, agree to doing Soulmate and to participate in this project with Doug.
At that point, I think it's just, I haven't reflected on this, but I mean, I'm very aware, and I just expressed kind of what a complete turning point I was at. Like, I mean, everything, like I literally thought my life, it's like my slate was wiped clean, and here we go. Like, here's something we can do. Something else too I'll mention is that I did hop on. I've never been secure without employment. Like I grew up very financially insecure. My family was always freaking out about money, and I never ever want to worry about that. It's kind of why I went into tech to begin with. But in any case, started looking at jobs right away. I mean, the best thing I thought I could do is just find something immediately that I could just jump into. But at that time, I mean, the tech market was in a big downturn. And honestly, after about a month of looking, while also thinking about and painting this poster for Soulmate, like the holidays were going to come up. It was going to be, you know, Thanksgiving soon, then Christmas, and then New Year's. And it's like nothing happens during that. No one hires, right? So at some point, like my expectation was just diminishing. It's like, okay, I'm not going to find a job. So the more it diminished, I took that energy bandwidth and put it into the play. And I'm like, well, now I have time to do this. I want to do it right. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, after painting the picture, which took like 2 weeks because I don't know, just took my time with it. But in any case, even though I had the image of it right away in my mind, I had a process to create that. And it's actually funny. There's a whole article published in a magazine recently called Phoenix Innovation that explains exactly that process in case anyone wants to look to it. I can maybe link to it or something. I'm not sure, but it's literally about how I made the poster. But in any case, once the poster was done, I gave it to Zombie Joe when we started selling tickets, and tickets were starting to sell because we were starting to tell our friends, and because Zombie Joe, like you said, is the first show of the year. It was just significant, and the poster was quite compelling, I think, as well. But in any case, yeah, like from when I signed, and I realized too, from when we decided that night to do it to when we opened, it was 120 days total. And I also want to say that I never wrote a play before. You know, and you've never acted in a play before.
Right.
And I never wrote music for a play besides those little festival ones, you know, that I did in the 4 hours, which weren't really songs. They were just almost like pieces. And you have never sang in front of people. I mean, there's just like all these new things, and
right.
I've never done anything like cast a play or direct a play. Any case.
Be a manager of a team, like a...
Yeah. Produce a play.
Yes, exactly.
So in any case, what I did have, which was incredible though, is I did have Zombie Joe and his partner Denise Devon completely having so much faith in me, in Shannon right away. And in Shannon, not even really knowing her. I mean, meaning they'd met you in passing because you've come to plays, but they saw in me the faith I had in you and extended that to you without any problem, which is incredible because, I mean, these are people that have been running Zombie Joe's Underground for 35 years, putting on hundreds of plays. I mean, they go back to back to back and being very careful about what they do, meaning they are very careful about who they work with because it's a very vulnerable art that they house, it's very expressive. It's very delicate. So for them to put so much faith in me and in you, and then anyone that we worked with, I mean, they were very hands off until I needed them. I mean, when I needed them, they were there. It's incredible. And I even only mention that now again, because it's exactly the same situation going to New York, which is absolutely incredible. It's like what Zombie Joe always says to me, like he just said it yesterday again. He said, I'm all yours. You know, he's just saying like he just believes in us. He's seen the results, and he just wants to lend every bit of his experience in the way that we want it. Mm-hmm. You know, anyway, it's just extraordinary. And I think it's just this confluence. So what I was going to say is that it's this confluence of them, of me having this clearance in my life, even though I never done these things, of you having this moment in your life that you just explained where you can like start to venture into something new. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really, it occurred to me till now, just that those things lined up, right? Right.
Yep. Like just the synchronicities.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. I would even say even the fact that like, I don't know, I want to go back even a little further and say like the fact that you're here in LA and even our friendship, mm-hmm. you know, like those things. I mean, because I don't know, to go back further, do you want to talk about like how we met? Because I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking. So.
Yeah, sure. So, the way that we met, I was actually working at the time in Portland, Oregon, and it was my first job outside of college. As soon as I graduated, I was working.
And when was this? Like what year?
So I graduated in 2016, and I believe Doug and I met in 2017. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was 2017 to 18. I was working.
It was 17 because I think it was like December.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, November, December. Yeah, yeah.
I was working for a nonprofit tech company. And so basically what that means is that we would provide education and programs doing like in-person labs as well as online workshops. And so I would be hosting those, I'd be facilitating them, and I would be the person that was like traveling around. Now this was really a fun time for me because I was from Hawaii and I'd only lived in Portland, Oregon. So that was, as far as traveling went, I didn't have much experience in the different states. And so, yeah, they would just ship me off to different cities, and I got to experience the cities. And one of those cities happened to be in LA. So that was really exciting. It was like, okay, this is my first time in Los Angeles as an adult. I can go out to the bars if I want to. I can meet some friends, figure out like who in my following wants to hang out. And so I think I might have put out a post that said, I'm here in Los Angeles, does anyone want to do a shoot? And Doug reached out to me, and then it was right then and there. We planned like, okay, we're going to figure out a time to meet up and do this shoot. And it was just amazing. It was a photo shoot. And we ended up just taking photos in the hotel room that I was staying in. And it was just like such a lovely experience. One of the kindest people that I was like, oh, this is like such a warm, nice presence and energy. And I feel really safe around this person. And we just got to talking from there. Then a few years later, I had met somebody in Portland. And this was a person that I was really interested in dating and pursuing. And he wanted me to come and move to Los Angeles, which is a city that I never even honestly thought that I would move to. I never felt like Los Angeles is the place I wanted to be. I was always like really interested in like, Hawaii, Portland, really cities that are very green, Seattle, maybe even New York. New York now isn't as green, but in my mind, like if I was going to move to the big city, I was thinking I'm moving to New York. Like that's where I would go. I would go just the farthest I could away from home, which is Hawaii for me. And I didn't think about Los Angeles at all. A lot of people from Hawaii do move to LA just because it's a really quick commute. It ends up sometimes only being 4.5 hours, depending on the winds. So yeah, I ended up here in LA, and I felt that it was a very difficult 2 years of just trying to get situated. But that 2 years has now passed, and a lot of people tell you that when you move to Los Angeles that you might think you're going to die in the first 2 years and you don't know what's going to happen. It's ups and downs and curveballs, but then you find your community. And I really did find my community with Doug. As soon as I moved to LA, Doug was just warm and open, as he always is, and really showed me the ropes, kind of showed me like things that he really loves about the city, that he's from here and this is his home. So there's just like fun little gems hidden everywhere in Los Angeles. And you have to find good friends like Doug to show you where those are and have a good time. Yeah,
that's true. Like, yeah, like it's, you can't like just be dropped into LA and just navigate it. It's
exactly.
Like, yeah,
exactly.
like,
and sometimes people visit LA and they just absolutely hate it because they don't know where anything
can't find anything. Yeah.
Is,
it's just
right.
sprawl, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it was really amazing because I don't know, like from that first time that we met, I mean, it was just really magical in a way. And it was different for me. It's because I wasn't able to do music. I have a thing about me where it's like, okay, if I can't do music, I'll do something else. It's like I need to do some kind of art to like fill that part of my time and my soul. And so photography was something that I did start in San Francisco, actually at the urging of others. It's funny. People just wanted me to take photos of stuff, and I did because I already like to take photos of like architecture and stuff when I travel, because I travel a lot. But yeah, like that started me on a path. I did some in New York, but then when I was in LA, it's like it filled that void that music at the time was leaving because I didn't have it. And but at the same time too, with all this actually ties in really nicely. With all art for me, it's like I like to be very raw and expressive and vulnerable. And it's funny, photo shoots became very vulnerable for me, meaning like, I don't know, I'd put a lot into it, meaning, you know, I just wanted to be so perfect and so beautiful. And I mean, my favorite things were like fashion and kind of like, I guess what they call like editorial and lifestyle, but you know, like almost like just within a photograph, just having something compelling with the pose and the fashion and the scene and you know, like almost like a little static movie scene or something. But you know, I'd put so much into it and then like it would just be gone, meaning like, you know, the people that like to shoot, it's like they're just output you know what I mean? And so it's like I'd put so much into something and be so raw, so vulnerable, and then like everyone's moved on to the next thing already. I'm like, wait, like, oh, what, you know? And so it's funny because with Shannon, like when we met, I wasn't meeting a lot of people I didn't know, because that kind of vulnerability I didn't actually like to share with those I didn't know. And in fact, almost all my photo shoots are with like good friends. I didn't really shoot that much with strangers, and sometimes dealing with strangers was too vulnerable, where I kind of get hurt because they weren't, you know, because I felt like I'd open my heart in a way like where others just weren't. I'd be kind of left alone in that. I'm getting very philosophical, but there's a reason. But because with Shannon, it's like, I don't know, from the very moment I saw her, and it's funny because we kind of squeezed in the photo shoot too, because the only night you had available was in the evening. I had an event. I went to this amazing Black Mirror event for the TV Academy. I'm part of the TV Academy, and so, you know, it was the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I'll come over right after the event, and hopefully you're not asleep yet, you know, and we'll have a little time. And I did show up, and it's funny because you're like, well, I'm a little tired and I have to get up early, so we have a couple hours, you know, so it was very brief even, right? Mm-hmm. But like the moment that like I saw you, and it's funny because like, you know, when you first meet someone you've only seen in photos too, it's like, oh, you look so different than what I thought, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was just this immediate comfort, which led into like just like this comfort that just allowed us, I think, to both be like very vulnerable in that shoot. And in fact, there's some shots in that, and I can maybe even put it in the video, where like, I don't know, like they were very creative, like the one with like the book and the faucet, you know, if you remember. But I mean, like where it's like, oh my God, it was kind of blowing my mind, because like, you know, these were like highly artistic and very spontaneous. And we were just literally I mean, she just grabbed this big book that was in the hotel room, and then we went to the sink in the hotel. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have anything. We literally had nothing to work with, you know? In any case, the reason I'm saying all that is because it really, now that I think about it, it really laid the groundwork for what we are able to share artistically. And that is like just absolute submission to like the vulnerable art that we're getting into together. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking about this for the first time, like how that first day relates to like Soulmate, you know, mm-hmm. because yes, that allows for a quick friendship in a way, you know, and being able to be vulnerable with each other and just trust each other in a friendship. Mm-hmm. But that's where like our friendship then, yeah, like we have more than our friendship. We have like this creative partnership, which is really blossoming in these last, even has blossomed more recently.
Right.
But in any case, something that Soulmate, I think, has, it's an asset that's really resonated with audiences is its absolute like vulnerability and artistic openness. And I don't know, I just knew, I think, that I could be I think it's because I was writing it for you, that I can like write something and just open up my entire heart, is all the pain, all the humor, everything. Because it's like, it was for you, and you could be there with me for it, you know, and trust me, and I can trust you. And then you would bring that as well, because I think that's just how we exist together, you know? Anyway, I'm getting very philosophical about the whole thing, but I mean, it just seems to all make so much sense now that I think of it holistically, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been such a beautiful experience getting to know Doug, and that we share such parallels as far as certain kind of like the styles and the ways that we don't really conform, and just a lot of different, just a lot of different aspects about us that you'll get to see when you come and see Soulmate.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something else too. I introduced Soulmate kind of every night when we did it at Zombie Joe's. I probably won't do that in New York. It's just not the style out there. But something that I did say is that, you know, what I enjoyed about Zombie Joe's in general is it was kind of a place where you can be whatever you want to be. And growing up, I never felt like I fit in anywhere, anyhow. Like even when I was just, I mean, from like being a baby in preschool, I didn't fit in. But yeah, that's like a place where I could, and somehow they wanted me to be there, not fitting in the way I did. And yeah, with Shannon, it's funny because, I mean, to me, you know, when I saw her first impression of me was like all her modeling that I saw on Instagram. And to me, to this day, she's my absolute favorite model. Like I've never seen anyone so beautiful in pictures ever still. I mean, like it's just, and it's like, it continues. And it's so funny because every single time there's a new picture of her, even if I take it, you know, I'm just like, what the, you know, I'm just like, I'm so floored by it. So in any case, I don't know, you think someone like that, not someone like that, but you know what I mean? Like when someone is so appealing in that way, you know, you like, I don't know, like, I guess my impression is I would never think that we'd meet and then like we'd relate on like the levels of like not fitting in for different reasons and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
But like we did.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm very flattered.
Yeah.
Doug is also just a visionary. His art, oh my goodness, some of them have been published in magazines. Some of them people have made great paintings of.
Oh yeah. Whether I liked it or not.
Right. But definitely we both have experienced that sort of identity, like, I guess, feeling like you're not able to fit in. For me, it was a lot culturally. And that definitely, I think, resulted also in this beautiful art that we created together. Yeah, to go into that a little bit more, like basically being born in Hawaii, you know, it's like culturally I identify very Hawaiian, but that's because of the way that Hawaii is. It's like you can't really say that you're Hawaiian. If you're not native Hawaiian, then you wouldn't really say that. And then being Chinese, my parents are immigrants from China. You know, I had always felt like, well, I don't really feel Chinese. Like I feel like my parents are Chinese and that we spoke Cantonese growing up. But even when I go back to China or have visited China, I feel very much alienated there as well. And even my experiences kind of like moving to Portland, you know, there are certain people who maybe are not, have not been really exposed to Chinese Americans. And so even in that way, I've just always felt like I'm not really sure where I belong. It almost doesn't really feel like I belong anywhere. And so I really do that. What you said really identifies with me as well, my experience.
I have a question for you then. I mean, when did you, I mean, okay, so how does that relate to your art and your expression? Because even though this is your first time in this art form, you know, being an actress and singer, for example, I mean, your art, you did, like, what were your first, like, expressions of art? Because you're dancing or modeling, you know what I mean? And then, like,
right.
And how does that relate to, like, how you felt? Like, did you feel like it did relate? Was it a way to fit in somehow? Or can you speak on that?
Yeah, sure. So I was very interested in modeling from a very young age. And at the time that I decided that I was very interested to pursue it, I had come across Tumblr, and, you know, that was a time for MySpace and Tumblr and things like that. So I was very interested in different photography that people were posting online. And a part of that was like this huge wave towards this online platform called Suicide Girls, which is a platform of inked models, very beautiful boudoir photography. and their tagline is "What makes us different makes us beautiful." And so it's just a bunch of very different alternative looking girls, which at that time I was very like into this like emo and punk type of look. So
And where were you this time?
I was in Hawaii.
You were in Hawaii still? Okay.
Yeah, I was in Hawaii, and my parents had signed me up to join this agency where I took some courses, some modeling and like women's courses to kind of grow into my to my womanhood. Yeah. So I did that, and that was kind of a more mainstream take, but I had always known that becoming a suicide girl was my goal. And even as soon as I turned 18, when I was in Portland, Oregon, I was like, it might be really easy to become a suicide girl here because there's just many suicide girls from Portland. And the company had originated in Portland and then moved out to Los Angeles to have their headquarters there. But there are many photographers as well that would do that type of art. So I think that, you know, with that, it is a huge expression of myself, because instead of trying to do the mainstream art that everybody else was doing and that is popular, I was kind of like, what is something alternative that really fits with how I feel? And like, what is something I find beautiful? And then I really stuck with that. Mm-hmm. So that's even kind of influences the art that I make today.
Yeah, I see. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. I mean, I feel like as there's parallels. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I didn't talk specifically about kind of the bands I'd have in high school and college and after. But for me, I mean, it's funny. It wasn't actually at all a way to feel like I belonged or something to fit in. In a weird way, it almost was like a raw expression to show that I didn't fit in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Meaning like the music that I would create would be so raw and expressive, and I wouldn't even know what it was coming out. It would just be this sound. It wouldn't, I mean, everyone would say like, what kind of music do you play? I'm like, I don't know. Like it just, yeah. But I mean, I guess in a way though, the music does become, or the art becomes this thing that lets you be yourself. I think that's maybe the theme that's common between us, you know? Mm-hmm. Like it's a vehicle, it's a medium. Where we couldn't be ourselves in these normal expressions of life and family and culture and things, but we could in our art, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's really good. You may have seen Shannon's cat in the background. That's Bori. Yep. And she's going to be coming to New York with us.
Yes. So excited.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's a really nice kind of like primer in a nutshell about our individual backgrounds, our background together, how Soulmate came to be. What we're doing is we're really excited to be in the process right now of bringing Soulmate to New York City as an Off-Broadway production at the Actors Temple Theater, which is right there in the theater district of Manhattan. It's just an incredible opportunity. I'd like to really thank Zombie Joe for ushering us to New York. The moment that I said, hey, let's maybe take this to New York, he immediately said, I got your guy. There's a guy out there, Ed Gaines, who is the general manager of the Actors Temple Theater, who immediately, much like Zombie, without even knowing me, without even barely talking to Zombie, Ed's one of Zombie's mentors, just took us under his wing. I mean, he's incredible, and he hooked us up with the most incredible team out there. We're talking our publicist, our lawyer, our tech guy, our box office. I mean, every single person out there just coming out to support us. It just feels like we're the luckiest people in the world. But then again, they are very eager to hear the story we have to tell. The more they hear about Soulmate, the more they want to see it. Mm-hmm. and the more that they want to see it, the more that they want to share it with the New York community and the world. And we're going to be hitting the ground running with some press this upcoming week. By the time this comes out, probably right around that time. And we would really encourage everyone to come out and see us. We're just on the normal telecharge site, which is, the Broadway, Off-Broadway ticket site. You'll find us there alongside every other Broadway and Off-Broadway show, which is a mind-blowing thing to see. Soulmate opens on April 19th, Saturday. It's going to be every Saturday at 8 p.m. and then we're going to have Sunday shows at 2 p.m. Yeah. And I don't know, anything more to say about that?
No, we're really excited for New York City.
Yes. Cool. Okay, so we'll see you next time on this podcast.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.